to go ahead and do this again. But then we also have gotten a lot of requests, people looking for information regarding our alfalfa portfolio. I think that our alfalfa portfolio is very strong. It's just not something that we've given enough attention to. And so that's something we'd like to remedy. And so we just wanted to take a little bit and then we'll kind of finish off with a little bit of biological information on alfalfa that's been pretty interesting for us as we continue to look through it. So um, today, as far as your presenters, you got myself and Amy. Amy is running just a bit late. She'll be here in just a minute. Had a conflict, so she should be joining us any second here. So I'll get things started, and then we'll kind of go back and forth between Amy and I as we work through this. So what is MasterGraze and what will we cover with it today? And so MasterGraze is a 60-day tillering BMR crop. We're going to look at its most common uses. We're going to look at how does it get harvested, and we're going to look at what are the nutritional benefits, and then how do I utilize it in a feed program. We're also going to take a look at a new exciting uh, version of MasterGraze that's going to be coming out. That's actually going to be a little bit out in the field of it this year, and so a lot of exciting stuff happening in that, and so we're excited to see where that's going to go. We'll give you a little more detail on that here in just a little bit. And so you can kind of just get a visual here to start things off with what MasterGraze looks like. A lot of you, I know there's probably a decent amount on this call who have seen MasterGraze before, who have utilized it. I know looking at the call list or the list for the Zoom meeting, I see two or three of you that have definitely utilized MasterGraze. So I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I know there's also some names on here that probably never seen a field of MasterGraze. And so our picture to the left there, that's a good example of what it looks like out in the field, uh, considering it's got, one main stalk and then a bunch of, probably 4 to 7 tillers that come off of it. And then, so you can get a very thick, lush field of mastergrays. Some people say it kind of looks like sorghum, but at the end of the day, it is a corn plant. And so, very pretty nice wide leaves. We've got good nutrition. You're going to have a very dark green quality, very floppy leaf. Canopy's pretty quick after those first couple weeks, first I'd say 10 days or so. And so it comes on and comes on quick. And so we're happy to see that. And then the picture in the middle is a great representation of what a typical plant with MasterGraze would look like. And so it is, like I said, 4 to 7 tillers is very common. And then one main stalk that comes up through the middle. Now, your tillers can only generally be limited if we've got a nutrition shortage or we've packed the population in there too high. Then we can kind of see less tillers, but for the most part, it's pretty much always going to tiller out. And then, that last picture on the right there is just designed to give you a representation of what kind of the general height of MasterGraze. It can vary a little bit on height. But I would say 6 to 8 feet is pretty common. That gentleman was a guy in Minnesota. I believe he's right at 6 foot tall. So that gives you an idea of where it lands. And so that's to give you just an idea of what it can look like.
Good morning.
Morning, Amy. Amy has joined us here. So, Amy, I'm going to turn it over to you to start here with the Master Grace slide. Kind of already kind of introduced the overall concept, but let you kind of just dive in from here.
Okay. Sorry I'm late, guys. So master grazing itself, as you saw the pictures and so forth, that's a little bit different type of corn. Not really corn, but it is corn with those tillers and so forth. And one of the exciting things about it is that I heard a little bit there what Scott said. This is a 60-day tillering corn forage. Don't necessarily call it a silage because a lot of people take this corn and they can direct cut it, or you can cut it about 6 to 8 inches, lay it down. You can roll it up and put it in baleage, etc., if you want to. The nice thing is it's that emergency crop. Um, last year, there were some, we didn't, May was really bad in a lot of areas, right? I mean, we had a lot of rain and we didn't get really good first cutting crop in. And when you don't have good quality hay, this could have been something that if you had some place to put it, is to put this in and you would have had really good, highly digestible forage and better feed than first cutting hay or haylage. Um, it fits best in in the dairy, beef, and grazing operations. On a dry matter basis, it'd be nice to be able to get 5 pounds of dry matter of this product into the animals, either dairy and or beef. And out west, we have a lot of people that actually just bring their cows into the fields and start grazing it, and they'll eat this from the bottom of the plant up, and there won't be anything left. Um, as I said, designed for high quality forage production in that short window. Going back to that, that is the whole idea behind this product is to be highly digestible. And we're going to talk into the numbers here in a little bit. The other nice thing is it provides flexibility in your forage rotations. So where we see this at a lot is anybody that's doing a cover crop. Um, you can go in after that cover crop. Like, let's say you're doing wheatledge or rylage or something for corn, for silage, for the livestock. You can put this in right after. We also have people that are taking it off of small grains, like if doing barley and or wheat. We probably wouldn't recommend too much farther out than July 1st, but we've had people that did July 15th after the grains are off that have been able to utilize it. Next slide. Next slide, Scott.
Yeah, hold on. We did get a question here,
Oh, okay.
real quick. I don't know if you want to handle or you want me to. It's question
Um,
is when to start grazing. Um, Master Graze. I'll give you my view, and then you tell me if there's something different. I think typically it's from Dwayne. Great question, Dwayne. I think it depends if you're talking a strip graze or a mass graze. I think in a strip graze, I'd still stick to that. Probably depends, and it also kind of depends on how many animals you're putting out and how quickly they can go through it. Um, and so it kind of really just depends. But I would guess still at that probably tassel, Dwayne. I wouldn't want to do much earlier than that. And because really all you're going to start to lose is some quality as it goes along, possibly, but you're still going to have good tonnage and good feed. And I wouldn't want to get them out there too much earlier than that. For the most part, but I have seen, and there's videos. You can go to YouTube and just type in Master Graze grazing video. It's a very short clip, but cows going in, mass grazing, they'll knock it down. They're going to step on it, but they're going to come back and eat it, and take it almost pretty much down to the ground. And so, grazing will work very well. It's just so many operations anymore don't seem like they're set up for good grazing operation. But it definitely will work. So it can depend a little bit. My ultimate statement would be later better than earlier, for grazing.
One of the other things to remember on this product, this is a one-time product, all right? When you plant it, you harvest it. There's no regrowth on this product, not to the same level as a sorghum Sudan grass would be. So, once this crop is done, it's done for the year. You won't be able to go back in and expect to get any more yield out of it other than what you get through when it's ready to go at tasseling. So this is a BMR. It does have a BMR gene in it. I'm not real sure what it is, but it's probably close to the one that's used in sorghum Sudan. It's not necessarily the same BM3 that was in the other corn silage that was on the market. But because it is in there, it does reduce the lignin in this product. So again, it's very quick, high quality feed. Um, And these are really the statistics around it. It doesn't take a lot of nitrogen. All right, not compared to a regular corn crop. In fact, we really don't want you to put too much extra nitrogen on. Um, the protein on here, in our old tech sheets, you might have seen that it was up to 16% protein. But what we get a lot is people wanting to know when to harvest it. If you harvested it at 60 days and it was tassel, mid tassel, you could get that protein up there to 15, 16%. But if you take it off that, it's going to be 80% moisture. And you guys know how hard it is to do 80% moisture products. So the longer that you let it stand, it's going to try to do what all corn plants do and try to put an ear on it. All right. So if you let it go another 5, 10 days to try to reduce some of the moisture, you're going to get a little tiny ear, but it does mean that some of the nutrients that are sugar are going to be going into making that ear. When that happens, that ratio of fodder to grain comes into play, and that automatically starts to drop your protein a little bit. Most people don't buy MasterGraze because of the protein level. It's already going to be at least 2 units higher than your regular corn silage is going to be. And that's why it's considered more of a corn forage and not so much as a corn silage type product. Um, you don't really have to worry about nitrate or prussic acid concerns as long as you don't overfeed the nitrogen. If you try to put nitrogen in at the same level as you do for corn to get the grain out of it, yes, you could have a problem. But because we're not trying to put an ear on this plant and make all that starch, um, we're not going to have those concerns. Um, you could go in, even if it's been dry for a couple weeks and you get a rain and you're like, oh man, I was going to go ahead and take this MasterGraze off. Normally in a corn silage plot, what happens is that the nitrogen has come up into the product and we have to wait 24 to 48 hours for it to dissipate again. So we don't have those problems in the bump, right? But with this product, and because there's not much of an ear and we're not adding extra nitrogen, we shouldn't have that problem. The best way that we've seen this taken off is either as a haylage or a baleage. Um, this product works really well if you could wrap it like a round bale and then have it as a wrap bale. The fermentation process with this product is going to be really high because it's going to contain a lot of sugars. In fact, if you were to take and check this corn product against a tall corn silage, or let's say a Master's Choice or a real silage dairy product. When it's finished ready for corn silage, if you check both of them, you're going to see that the MasterGraze has more sugar in it at the time of harvest. So the fermentation of the product should be really good. Now, one thing I do want to remind you guys is as long as you're using this product that has the BMR in it, you do not want to cut it as tiny as you do alfalfa haylage, okay? Because when you do that, it's going to run, it's going to seep out of your silos, it's going to be a mess trying to put it in a bag. You're going to want to cut this longer. And I would say that you should cut it about 1.25 to 1.5 inches minimum. So you do have the larger pieces so you don't lose all the cell contents within the product. As we said, quick feed option. We keep telling you extremely high quality. Well, what is that quality? We're looking at a product at 65 to 68% in fiber digestibility, when regular corn silage is running about 55 to 58%. And even, I mean, if you compare it to an alfalfa haylage, we're looking at 50% on the high rate, all the way up to 65% with this type of product. So that's the biggest difference. This product can be used for grazing, whereas we wouldn't probably recommend you to do that with a regular corn silage product. And as we said, tremendous double crop option. Planting as late as mid-July. By that time, you know whether you got all your corn in, and or if you're going to have enough corn. You know, last year with all that rain, we had people out in Pennsylvania. They were still planting corn in July. This would have been a product to help out. And though the corn that they put in wasn't going to have much ear by the time they took it off, this product would have helped out quite a bit to give them that much more yield. Um, and it also helps to replace winter kill alfalfa. When we are in a situation where it's really cold and we have a lot of alfalfa that's heaved through the ground and it's really spotty, you're not going to get much off of it. So this is a product that can come in. It may not give you all the protein your alfalfa would, but it's certainly going to make a lot of feed for you. Next slide. So what makes it different? Okay. So, um, and all the corn products that are pretty much available this year. We're not seeing brown midrib in regular corn silage so much. And those of you out there that are resellers or farmers that may have been using brown midrib as their corn silage, if you are drawn to this, this is something that is different with the product that is got the brown midrib gene in it. And of course, the tillers, as you can see in this picture, there's about 5 or 6 tillers on there. That being the case, it's high quality. Those tillers make extra tonnage. We're looking at a plant here that doesn't have an ear, but we're also looking at a plant that's going to give you between 5 and 7 tons of dry matter. Now, to put in that perspective, when we're doing corn silage, we're hoping that we're putting in 21-ton or better corn silage on an acre, right? And if it's at 65% moisture, it's 7 tons of dry matter. So we're not losing a lot of yield here, but the yield's coming from the tillers and the plant itself. It's approximately 60 days to harvest, and we're talking about full tassel. Then again, it depends on heat units, right? Any corn that we put in the ground, whatever the day length is, we can say it'll be that many days. But you guys know that if it's cooler, we don't have the heat units, it's going to take a couple more days to move on. And when you move it into like the 70-day bracket, the digestibility on it, at 60 days is definitely going to be around 68. The digestibility at 70 days is probably still at 65. So we're not really losing a lot of fiber digestibility. And again, it's great, excellent for a short season forage option. So for producers, if you're a reseller, this is the best product for forage as a tillering product. It's a premium product. You can get, most of the times we don't want to see tillering in our regular corn, right? Because we feel that the plant is expressing its energy into those tillers and not bringing all the energy or the starch into the grain part of the corn. But with this product, we want the tillers for the yield, and it also is high in digestibility. We talked about the tonnage. It's very consistent tonnage. And the neat thing about it is, I think about it, I wouldn't want to have to go over my fields 3 times to try to get as much dry matter as what you'll get with this product one time. Sorghum Sudan grass, we can look at that at 3 times, the regrowth on it. You cut it and it regrows. And of course, what regrows is only about half as much as the first time. And then if you're lucky, you may have a third cutting off of it, but it's half of what the second cutting was. And overall, if you look at the field itself, you're looking at about 3.5 tons of dry matter in a sorghum Sudan. And you've had to run over it 3 times with your equipment and so forth. So when you look at the time, the equipment, the fuel, and so forth, it's a lot easier if you wanted to take this product off. You take it off once, you're getting 5 to 7 tons of dry matter, and you don't have to go back again. And that field is ready to do whatever you want to do with it, whether you want to put winter wheat into it, or plant alfalfa. We have people that plant alfalfa in the fall out east, to be able to do something like that. These extremely high sugars, when harvested at full tassel, like I said, um, it's probably going to be twice, maybe 2.5 times as much sugar in this product without the ear on it compared to a regular corn silage product that has an ear on it. Okay. Those sugars go down. When the sugars go down, when you lengthen it out, it's going to take the digestibility down a little bit. Excellent crude protein levels when compared to regular corn. If you're getting between 2 and 4 units more protein, that just goes to say that much less soybean meal that you'd have to put into their feed rations, which depending on how much that costs, that's a big plus. So this high fiber digestibility in 30 hours at 65 to 68%. I haven't seen anything this high in digestibility in this types of products. About 20 plus years ago, Italian ryegrass came into the market. And I can remember that product was in the upwards of 72% fiber digestibility. The only problem is once we get over that 68% fiber digestibility, we have another problem called rate of passage. And when it gets too high, the rate of passage normally goes up. So you want to make sure that when you're feeding this product, you either feed, if it's grazing, they're good because this is all they're getting, and you're making a nice room and mat. But if you're putting it in as baleage or you're feeding it as part of the ration, you need to make sure that your forage amount of your total ration is high enough so it sits there in a room and long enough, because we don't want it to just bypass right through, which it could, because it's it's like having the best alfalfa, that real candy alfalfa that you can grow. Um, when you feed that to the cows, a lot of times that comes right out of the cow looking the same as when you fed it to them. So once again, the performance characteristics, 10 to 12%, potentially higher depending on harvest moisture. So like we said, if you do it at full half tassel to tassel, you could, before we start developing any ear, be as high as 15 to 16%. Um, as we let that ear develop, it will go down a little bit. But the fiber digestibility stays. We're looking again at that 65%, which is a good 7 units over regular corn. Um, the high sugar content provides better fermentation. We have better fermentation. We have more dry matter intake, which again supports higher milk production. Um, those strong dry matter yields for short season forage, we don't get that in anything else but this type of product. And this is the other thing. You can reduce nitrogen applications by 1/3 to 1/2 compared to traditional corn crop. So everybody does that differently whenever you go to put your fertilizer on. But if you're using half of that to get this crop, because again, we put fertilizer on regular corn silage to help build the grain in the corn silage. And that's not something that we have to do with this product. So management guidelines, we want you to plant it just like you plant corn. Um, Planting population 26 to 32. Now, Scott had written here up to 36,000, but that's going to have to be in 15-inch rows, guys. Um, you get too much uh, population there, and um, they have done studies and so forth that once you get into that 36,000 range, even at 15-inch rows, you can start to lose some digestibility in the corn plants anyway. You're going to plant it like you do regular corn. It looks like corn. It is corn. You need to plant it with a corn planter, 1.5 to 2 inches deep. Definitely have to put it in the soil. It has to have soil contact. You want to avoid planting it though in cold, wet soils. No different than if you were putting regular corn in. You would not be putting that in at 45-degree soils. You still want your soils to be at a good temperature. Um, it does minimize weed competition from emergence through V4. Um, I, I, I don't know if we have another picture here, but if you look at this product, you can see that it starts to canopy right away. And because that early canopy on there, you're going to have reduction of weeds within the crop. Now, we do have to use conventional corn herbicides, no glyphosate or no glufosinate, because it does not have the Roundup gene in here. This is a conventional product, um, and so we don't dare put Roundup on it or I'll die. So the harvest and rotation, please harvest a full tassel for best forage quality. If you want to let it dry a little bit more, put a little bit of ear on, take it 5 to 10 days later. You can use this haylage, baleage, or grazing. Strip grazing can maximize utilization. I know that we talked to a farm when we were at one of our meetings in New York, and we had a farm that was wanting to do non-GMO, and that this fits in it. It's non-GMO, even though it has a BMR gene in it, it still is non-GMO. And what they were going to do is the strip grazing, where they were going to go ahead and put the corn out, and these were grass-fed cows, and they would go out and they'd eat this down, and then they would move them, just like you would do if you were doing regular grass feeding. Move the wires and so forth. But do remember that between this kind of product and just grass, there's going to be more yield on the product. So the animals tend to stay in this, the same number of cows would stay in this maybe a little bit longer than if it was just pasture, because they're going to get more out of it because of the yield. We've seen people use this in 2, 3 crop rotations. I mean, they're able to, you can start to plant this product. Tell me if I'm wrong here, Scott, but as soon as the soil warms up, you can go ahead and plant this, right? If you wanted to go ahead. Scott, do you hear me? No, go back. Scott, can
Yeah,
you go
I
back?
was muted.
So,
So, yeah. Yeah,
that's
that's
okay.
right. As soon as that soil's at your regular temperature, just like you're putting in regular corn, you can absolutely go in and plant this. I think the key there, and I think Amy may have said it, is you got to have moisture, right? You got to have some moisture present. It's a corn crop still. So you definitely got to have moisture. And one thing and Amy hit on it too, but I wanted to make sure and hit on is I completely agree with her on the population. Once you get up above that 36, what you're really going to limit the most is your tillers. You're going to have less tillering, and so which is going to, at the end of the day, affect your tonnage. So, more isn't necessarily more when it comes to that population.
Mhm. And like we said, excellent double crop. So this is a really nice piece because everything we talked about is right on this page. It gives you the strengths and the management tips and characteristics. And one of the things to look at here, if you're on your computers, guys, look at the dry matter yields. Corn silage, it's saying around 8 on the average. Forage sorghum, which is your corn plant with those the sorghum in the end, 6.5. MasterGraze averaging 6. So 5 to 7 dry matter tons. But look at sorghum Sudan grass, where it's 3.5. Now, um, you also have to take sorghum Sudan off at the exact right time if you want 15% protein. But there is a 10-unit difference in fiber digestibility between sorghum Sudan and MasterGraze. And a 400 unit difference on milk per ton. So the product in itself is going to give you more nutrition than using a sorghum sudan grass or forage oats or triticale. And then it just continues on of what we were talking about with the management harvest. So if you're a reseller and you want this piece, I think we can get this out to you so you would have it to give out to customers and or dealers. If you're a customer and would like one of these tips, we'll gladly send this out to you. So I'm going to let Scott talk about the expansion of the MasterGraze portfolio. He's been more involved with it than what I have. So he can let you know what's on the horizon with this product.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Yeah, so MasterGraze, right now we're calling MasterGraze 2.0. The biggest impact is that it is a glyphosate tolerant product, and so we're able to use something that people have been screaming for a few years now. So we're able to deliver that. We'll have some trialing out this year. There's even a small amount of bags. I think those are already flagged and know where they're going, but should have it for broad use starting this fall. That gives us a lot of flexibility as far as weed management. Obviously, and also gives us the ability to actually put it out in some plots where it was a problem before because of being conventional only. It's a give and take a little bit with MasterGrace 2.0. It is still a tillering plant. It does not have the BMR at this time. We could not get the BMR to move over when we changed the new version of it and added in the glyphosate. So it does not have the BMR. So we haven't had uh, broad scheme testing on it, but I will say that it's pretty common sense to think that the quality may not be quite as good on the MasterGraze 2.0, but I think what it does bring, it brings much better. It's going to probably be a little bit fuller season, but I think it's also going to be a little more drought and heat stress tolerant than what we saw. Maybe not quite as floppy of a leaf, maybe a little more upright, but not quite as concerning considering we can get in there with a Roundup if we need to, if we don't get quite the weed control early. That was one of the biggest challenge. That is still one of the biggest challenges with the original MasterGraze is, man, once those weeds, if you lost control of them, man, you had a mess on your hands. And then just the reliability of the seed supply that kind of means something to a grower, but kind of not because they don't necessarily see the background. Those of us in that system know that growing the traditional MasterGraze can really be a challenge. And so it's very difficult to deliver quality seed consistently because of its nature. And we believe that this newer product is going to be able to do a much better job of that. So be on the lookout. I don't know for sure what the name will end up being, but it's just a new version of MasterGraze. And I think that, like I said, the thing that excites most people is the utilization of that glyphosate tolerance. So, Amy, if you're available, we'll go into the kind of our last piece
Yep,
here on the
yep.
common questions.
So we thought we'd put this together for you guys, especially resellers, right? This is because these are the questions that you're going to get, right, when you're out there. And so this is a nice little piece just to hand over to them. Prussic acid concerns. We see that in wheat. We see that in regular corn. And the answer here is no. We're not having to worry about extra nitrogen or our nitrate product problems or any of those ugly yellow lines that you see in a pit, right? Whenever we do have a problem with it. That should not happen. Best time to plant, well, it's 60-day growing window. You have to have moisture, but as soon as that soil warms up, as if it was regular corn being planted, go ahead and plant. Drill or broadcast. You cannot drill or broadcast. It's not recommended. You have to use a corn planter. It has to have soil contact and it has to have moisture from the soil to come up, just like regular corn. Nitrate concerns, we only are worried about that is if, like we said, we only need to use 1/2 or 1/3 of the amount of nitrogen on this product. If you overdo, then maybe there would be a nitrate concern, and that's if we have really dry weather for a while and then it rains, right? Um, if you wait that 24 to 48 hours, it should be okay, just like with regular corn, but don't waste your money on the excessive nitrogen. We're not trying to put a grain on this product, so I would not spend the money on that. The other thing, guys, realize that this is a BMR plant that is really, really leafy. If, and I don't know if anybody's done this, but if you let this go and make an ear, and it's a full ear, that full ear is going to not be any more than probably 3 inches. All right. But the heaviness of that and the amount of reduced lignin that's in this product, you would have more of a concern of having it fall over, or bend or whatever. Um, it does pretty well in windstorms and so forth because of the tillers, and with the weight of it's more central, that you don't really have to worry about it. But, if we have 80-mile-an-hour winds or whatever, we're going to have some problems just like with anything. But it's just something else to think about. You're going to harvest it. The earliest to harvest it is 60 to 70% of tassel stage. All right. That, yes, you'll get your 16% protein, but you're also going to get 80%. Scott, can I ask you to weigh in here on this tassel stage? We want them to be at full tassel, and do you think that they'll be there at 60 days? Or, because if we're at 70% tassel, would that mean that it's at 55 days?
Yeah, so I'll give the best ag answer with that we can. It's like it depends. Um, I think it all really relative to when we get it in the ground. I mean, it's very common to see at that 60 days. I mean, that's just standard for most corn in that maturity range to be about 60 days to be, 50% tassel. I will say that's the start. I have no problem with someone letting it get out further. I know there's individuals on here. I believe Dwayne Dryling's on this call. He's had individuals that let it go out much further, all the way to an ear. I don't generally recommend that it depends on what somebody's trying to accomplish. So I would say work with your sales rep, work with Amy and I, because we really just depends on what you're trying to accomplish, but, and how much heat we can get and moisture available and everything. We've seen, you guys have been, I'm sure there's a lot of professionals on this call that have seen how plants act really funny depending year to year. But 60 days is absolutely where things can start to happen for you. Again, it just really depends on what you're trying to do. It's a give and take. The longer you let it go, the more tonnage you're going to have, but also the less moisture you're probably going to have to deal with. So it's going to be probably easier to manage, but also you do lose quality in the longer you let it go. So it's really just a give and take on what you're trying to accomplish.
And once again, as we talk about herbicides, on the MasterGraze that is out there today, it's got to be conventional non-GMO labels, corn labels, okay, for whatever herbicides you use. I do believe that we have the Roundup version out in the field testing. I think you said that, Scott, right? That we will have it out there. We're going to be able to compare it to regular MasterGraze in plots, etc. And so we'll have a better idea at the end of the year when we get all the sampling back and so forth from it. Actually, might not be that long because if they go ahead and put it in, we're talking 60 days from May. So we may actually be able to get information come into August on all this stuff. Next slide. Now we're going to go into the alfalfa portfolio. Scott did a lot of work on some research that he did in Southern Illinois. And this is a real good piece because it does define each one of our alfalfas and how they're a little different from each other. So go ahead and take off there, Scott.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, so we want to take a little bit here, and I know I did have a couple questions that came in on MasterGraze. We'll reach out to you individually because we're running a bit behind, so we want to just continue to move through. But still, feel free to type your questions into the chat. But when we look at the alfalfa portfolio that uh, we've got built here. I think that the thing that jumps out to me is, unlike with Rob Seco, our corn portfolio is very large. Between bringing some other companies into the system, having just, three different trait providers, having conventional, organic, everything you can think of, and then going from a 75 day, I believe, and up to 118 day. It's a lot of varieties to be able to make sure we can capture every opportunity that we can. On alfalfa, we're much more simplistic yet very broad at the same time because what we have covers a large portion of the alfalfa acres in the U.S. We have a combination of our own, of a conventional that we source, but then we also work alongside WL alfalfa to provide some varieties. And so, just to give you an idea, I've got kind of a summary here of what the portfolio looks like. If an individual is looking at a value budget product, they can look at our cost cutter, and we'll go into a lot more detail on each of these. But just to get, and then if value and weed control is a concern, we've got a power stand Roundup Ready. Maybe they want something premium, so they're wanting, a premium conventional, or they're wanting something with a high quality or something along those lines, or then even more higher premium trait package. Maybe they want the Harv Extra, which we'll talk a little bit later, or they're in a very heavy insect pressure situation, and so they need that hopper shield protection to protect against potato leaf hopper. And so across all aspects of the portfolio, again, it's not hugely wide, but it's got some depth to it. And so we like to see what we're doing. I did think it was important for everybody because I'm sure there's varying levels of education around the WL products and what some of these things mean that we see. And so you're going to see these designations on the tech sheets, and you're going to hear me reference some of them. And I just wanted to give you a quick understanding of what that means. So HQ is just a conventional high quality breeding selection. Harv Extra is a reduced lignin biotech, so it's kind of that next level quality. Ultra Cut is referencing a disease package that they have that protects against multiple diseases, and then Hopper Shield is specifically designed for that potato leaf hopper protection. Which, if anybody's ever been in an alfalfa field that's having a potato leaf hopper issue, it can be an absolute devastation. And so starting this is just to show you, this is just to give you an idea of what these slides will look like and give you a better understanding. Notice these don't match. This is just to show you the layout of what we're looking at and make sure you understand. So FL is fall dormancy, or sorry, FD is fall dormancy. WH is winter hardiness. So fall difference there is fall dormancy is how much alfalfa growth slows in the fall. Does it slow down a lot, or does it stay pretty aggressive and active? Winter hardiness is that ability to survive over the winter. And so the lower the number, the more hardy it is. That's something I think people get confused about because we naturally think higher, better, but it's actually the opposite. The lower the number, the better the winter hardiness. And then your DRI is your disease resistant index. And so it's the overall disease rating. And so the higher the score, obviously, the better it is, the more diseases it ranks in to be able to control that. And then to the right on all these slides, you'll have a tech sheet, which is available through your sales rep, and they can get access to on our Rob Seco portal. So starting off here, the first one we're going to start with is the Commander Alfalfa. We would call this our premium conventional. And it is, it's a complete disease package. It's a high resistance, and it's got high forage yield and excellent tonnage, quality, everything across the board. We wanted, when it comes to the conventional, it's a fall dormancy 4, which covers an extremely large portion of the U.S. when it comes to alfalfa production. Does extremely well in both well drained productive soils or poor soils. So it's going to fit a large amount of acres on not just in the country, but on individual farms. Recovers very fast. You'll see that one of the last slides we'll look at is a biological test that I did. And it actually, and this is what we used. We used Commander on it because I really liked how quickly it would bounce back. This was a new crop alfalfa in a very tough environment. And so when you think about where this best fits is for that grower who's prioritizing long-term stand health, drainage flexibility, and excellent forage quality. And I should add that they're conventional. The conventional is an important thing to them. And so, this would be exactly where Commander would fit. Kind of in the same vein, slightly different. And I really should have had these on opposite. I should have switched these around. But Cost Cutter is kind of like it sounds. It's that economical alfalfa, shorter rotation, but still a nice, dependable tonnage. You can see that the disease resistant index is not going to be near as high. Your winter hardiness isn't going to be as high. Fall dormancy is similar enough that it's probably not overly concerned, and just depends on if the individual wants to do 3 or 4 cut system, but it'll adapt well. But again, economically priced, a lot of growers, alfalfa, they just want that lower price, but still be able to have something that they know they can have some confidence in with feeding it. So it's still going to have a good quality to it. And then good stand year over year, in those shorter rotations. Still some resistance. It's not like it has a very poor disease resistance score. And against certain ones, the bacterial wilt, fusarium wilt, is still going to do very well. It's some of the more aggressive ones that it doesn't do quite as well, possibly. But again, to be expected in a cost cutter system, and there's plenty of acres that just don't have those concerns. It'd be the same as we run into on the corn side. That if I don't, well, if I don't have a concern for something, why am I planting it, right? So, we see that to be the case with the cost cutter, as well. So getting at our first, designated as WL 3311 HQ, our first HQ designation. This one is particularly, what really stands out is it's built exceptional cold tolerance and winter survival, with very strong disease and pest package. 40 out of 40 on the disease resistance index score. Winter hardy of 1. Looking across the board, just a tough plant. Dark green, really fine stem profile with a high leaf to stem ratio, supports that strong feed value. Really fast recovery again with this one as well. Intensive harvest management will fit right in with this. And so kind of where it best fits is that premium dairy and hay acre, where winter hardiness and feed value are both critical. Winter hardiness can be such a big deal. How many, we've run into, at least I don't know. Different geographies can obviously experience different things, but I know we've had some issues in the past with some winter kill, right? Where things can be a challenge. And so, having a product that we can deliver on, that'll handle that winter hardiness very well, doesn't get any better really than what you're going to see with the 3311 HQ. So the WL 358 LH, this is an advanced potato leaf hopper. Protection, again, if you've ever seen a field of potato leaf hopper in an alfalfa field, you won't forget it. It can be an absolute disaster. Works extremely well in that situation. It'll handle that pressure very well. Not quite as good on winter hards, but still very good, and a very good disease resistance, 34, 35 disease resistant index, fall dormancy of 4.1. Excuse me. Really fast recovery. Again, you're going to find that to be a theme with all the products that we have in our alfalfa lineup, just because we want to try to cover as many broad acres as we can. Best fit for this is those operations that are facing that leaf hopper pressure. I know it's a big thing here in Michigan. I know it's in Ohio. I believe it's in Wisconsin, Minnesota. So it's kind of across a big part of our footprint. as Rob Seco. And so, again, it is that it says it on the tech sheet, next level enhanced potato leaf hopper resistance. And so that 358 LH product is one you definitely want to be taking a look at in the Midwest, Northeast for sure, if you're in those environments. 349 HQ. Um, again, little bit deeper or higher fall dormancy 4.4. Excellent still disease resistant index and a 1.7 winter hardiness. This one probably is one of the best combinations of the feed value and the elite disease resistance. Just a really good quality to this product. It's got that ultra cut package. So that's where the disease resistance is coming in. Um, and especially what I've seen with this or read with this, seen with this product is that really good early establishment. You know, the scary parts when you're getting that first established product out there. This has one of the highest success rates with that good early establishment, but it also still recovers again very fast as well. Broad geographic adaptation makes it a strong focus for conventional, fits across a lot of the regions that we work with. Um, and so probably the best fit for this product is going to be that premium hay or dairy acre where stand life, disease resistance, and feed quality are the biggest drivers behind value. And so a product that is going to continue to rise, I think, and take over more percentage of our sales. It's just one that we haven't had as much out as I think we should, based on what I've seen with it. And so I'm hoping we'll get some more individuals who will dive into this and give it a try this year. And then we start to get into the traded products. So we have a power stand Roundup Ready. This is just a dependable go-to Roundup Ready product. In some geographies, Roundup Ready isn't as popular as it once was, but then in some geographies, it's extremely popular. And so we want to make sure we're delivering and give you the ability to have a product that is top notch when it comes to be able to deliver that consistent Roundup. We know that that's extremely important, particularly in the early stand establishment, and having that flexibility. But this is still so when you look at as far as the Roundup, you obviously are going to pay a bit more, but still very economical, for what you get out of it. It gives you a lot more flexibility and what you can gain on the forage yield and quality, is still going to be impressive. That simple herbicide program supports weed control, during that stand establishment. That's just so important. We talk about it in corn all the time, right? How important it is to get that good early stand, get it up out of the ground, get the activity below ground, make it solid put it in the best position we can to be successful. That is no different in alfalfa. We want to make sure we're giving that alfalfa the best situation that we can. And so that really strong, good, it's got a good winter hardiness. We've seen others that maybe have a bit better, but this is still in a very good range, strong stability, fast recovery after cutting. And it's best, it's a practical fit for the customer who wants that technology without stepping into that really high premium price tier. And so for that best fit is the value, it's a value conscious grower. They want that Roundup. They want a straightforward, consistent performance. And then we'll get into the Harv Extra. This is our last variety we're going to hit on for today. So the Harv Extra, I'm going to let Amy speak to it here in just a second, but it's really impressive product. I don't remember exactly how new it is. Amy might remember, but does have a Roundup Ready aspect to it. Does have a very good disease resistant index score. Fall dormancy of 4.3, and it's still just and pretty darn good winter hardiness, but there is some absolute benefits from the feed standpoint and flexibility standpoint of when you want to cut it, whether you're cutting it at maybe a more traditional 21 day, you can increase that quality, or if you want to take it out a bit longer, to get more tonnage, but still deliver a good quality. Amy, anything in particular you want to hit on with Harv Extra?
Sure. So the Harv Extra product is really an excellent product if you're looking for more quality feed for the animals. But also has an effect on management. So it's really tough. You know, Scott said about 21 days, and 21 days is really hard for any farmer to just bam, repeat doing alfalfa. And you do that 21 days because you're trying to get it in that 25, 26% protein. Um, but when you cut it that early, you also don't get very much yield from it. The way this product works is it does have a reduced lignin in it, and it improves fiber digestibility. So what also happens is a lot of farmers try desperately to do the 28 days. And at 28 days, you could get between 19 and 21% protein. This guy at 28 days is going to give you almost what you had at 21 days. All right, when you were really trying hard. So at 28 days, you're still seeing high high protein, high fiber digestibility with this product. The neat thing is, if for some reason we had a rain, you do have an extended harvest window with this. You can actually take this out another 5 days and you'd still be in that 21% protein range. Um, a lot of times we've had people, you can take this to flour. I mean, full flour, and you wouldn't think about doing that at all with any other alfalfa. But even at full flour, this product, when you walk into the field, feels completely different than regular alfalfa. It's soft, it's bendable, it doesn't break. And with that, you get that much more yield. So you guys know that if you take alfalfa 28 days and then you lose a couple days, yes, you get the yield. Actually, regular alfalfa, whenever you have your premium day to take it off, the best day to harvest it, every day after that day, you lose 0.66 units of fiber digestibility. It actually goes back up. The NDF raises that much higher every day. So in 3 days, you've lost 2 units of quality. Um, so this thing allows you to have that little bit of extra window with giving you. Now, I would never recommend this product to be taken off at 21 days because one, I think you'd hurt it, you would in its regrowth and so forth. Yes, it would be like pure candy to the cows at 21 days. But the idea is to get it to be able to have that quality at 28 days, give you that extra yield, and um, have an all-round better product. So also it has the Roundup technology in it. So you have the ability to use your Roundup Ready. So you don't have to worry if you have all your crops out there that are Roundup Ready, you don't have to worry about any of Roundup getting on this product because it's not going to hurt it. The other nice thing is with the Ultra Cut disease package, it just strengthens the establishment of this product, persistence, in crop performance. This thing may take a little bit longer to germinate, and most of the time is because we're looking at a product that generally has a little bit more coating on it than maybe regular alfalfa does. But when it does germinate, it's very consistent across the whole field. You don't really see spots back and forth, on other alfalfas that germinate. But it takes water. It takes maybe a little bit more water to germinate than regular alfalfa to get through that seed coat. But you couldn't ask for anything better. Now, here again, guys, if you've been using BMR corn, you've never used this product and you're concerned because, man, I really like that stuff. Switch your alfalfa out. Now you've got another crop that's more digestible than what your regular alfalfa was. So you're picking up other items to be able to improve fiber digestibility, and dry matter intake within your diet without worrying about the BMR. So you look at the two products today that we talked about. We have MasterGraze that has that BMR. We have this product that has reduced lignin. Adding those two products within your diet has more than made up for anybody that was using BMR corn in both health, yield, quality. So those are the things that we have to offer that in the long run, you can have a better total diet by utilizing some of the products that we here had today. You have anything extra to add there, Scott?
Nope. I think I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, last slide we want to two slide or one real slide to hit on here is just want to show you real quick a study we had done. I apologize that we're over. We'll get this recording out to you guys, but if you can hang on for just another couple minutes here. This was a study I had actually done down in Southern Illinois. This piece is available. It was emailed out to me. Some of you probably got it. And this was showing the application of our Crop Fit Complete, Crop Fit NKBS into a system, after cutting, and what we were able to see on the impact on the tonnage, on NDFD30, RFV, and really just across the system. And so this was a new established alfalfa field in a pretty darn stressful environment. And so we were able to see that impact in tonnage, quality, and you can actually just visually see the treated, right? Look at the root system, versus the untreated. The plant itself maybe doesn't look quite as much, but it is, quite a bit difference, between the two. And so, making that, it's guys. So when we talk about NKBS, right? Nitrogen, potassium, boron, sulfur, but boron on alfalfa is not new. That's been a thing that's been for a while, but I feel like it has lost, it just doesn't get used quite as much as it once did. And so just the idea of adding that and some other products in as well, to help with that recovery. That's one of the most dangerous, right? One of the most dangerous times is right after we cut that alfalfa. And so giving it the ability to have something to bounce back with, is extremely important. And so more information to come. We're trying to duplicate this in some other geographies, this next year to add even more weight, into these numbers. And so, with that, this is our contact information for Amy, and myself. We'd love to hear from you. Any other thing that we missed on? I know there were a couple questions. We are out of time. We'll make sure I'll reach out or have Amy reach out to you, a couple individuals, that did have questions. But, in the meantime, we'll let everybody go, and some of you have asked for this information. We'll make sure and get that to you. So otherwise, thank you everybody for taking the time to jump on.